Hello, I'm Matthew Drat. I'm going to be doing another tutorial. This time I'm going to be doing Aether. Aether, sure. That's what I'm calling it. So you can download it in the description. So, new project, and I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go to what I want, and I want the C3 stage. And then, alright, I have quite a few. Now, this is just going to be showing the basic setup, how to get everything in 3ds Max, lighting it, and then how to get it back into your actual bitmap file. What I won't be showing is I won't be showing how to properly texture your map, how to get all these scenery things in game. You can clearly mess with it. I mean, it has a whole about thing here that you can read. There's another tutorial which I can link, but that tutorial, it was kind of confusing to me at first, and I did have to play around with it, so I don't want to have to let you guys play around with it. I'm just going to straight out show you it so you know what you're doing when you're reading that tutorial. If you want to do more than just straight out lighting, like if you want to have scenery in there while you light it too, you should probably read that tutorial because I don't know how to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to export BSP. We want BSP, we want light maps. I don't care if my BSP has bitmaps or not, so I'm not going to extract any bitmaps. So you can just leave it like this. If you are going to try to do scenery and other stuff in here, I would imagine that these markers are important. Export. And then we can open 3ds Max. Actually, what we want to do is we want to go to import. Now we want to find the Aether file, which is going to be in data, and then wherever the BSP is. So I'm going to import stage, which is my BSP. I'm going to import it here. Skip. Alright, so we have the basic BSP in here. I'd imagine if you're going to use scenery by this point, you would try to place your scenery around here. But I don't have any scenery in here. It's all the seats are already in the BSP and everything. And so I'm just going to go straight to lighting it. So I'm going to choose a standard light here. I'm going to go to Omni. And I'm just going to place a standard light right in the center. Boop. And the reason for this is because the way Halo renders the darks, the blacks, the pitch blacks, it is horrible. Like, it is a pitch black. So say if I put like 20 spotlights around here, but I miss just the tiny corner, it's going to be like pitch black in that area, and it looks like crap in game. So here's a small little light that will give everything in view over here a good small dim light source. But I do want to add a spotlight, which I'm going to add. And I'm going to drag it so it all appears over here. I'm going to drag this up here. Obviously, you should want to mess around with it some more. This obviously isn't how the C3 stage actually is going to look. This is just a small little test to show you guys how this works. But yeah, you want to set up your lighting, so it works. Probably turn that intensity up some. 8. And you can mess around with your settings or whatever. Then you can go to render. You can check out how it looks. That's pretty much how the lighting's going to look in game. Your viewport, I've had my viewport misportray the lighting. Sometimes it's way brighter in here than it is in the actual render. And you want to pay attention to what the render looks like. And so another thing which you can do is, say if you don't want a light reaching a certain area, you can create a little wall here for it. And this works like half the time. I don't know why. I haven't exactly mastered the wall, but it helps sometimes. And so like the light here that is off of the stage, it would hit this box right here instead of actually hitting the back wall. It's still hitting the back wall though. And so, yeah. So I've had a light come up right here and hit the screen, and that's how I actually light up the screen, but it also hits the roof. So I just put a box right above the screen right here that would cover the roof, cover the light hitting the roof, and it worked. So mess around with it. You can block light, and so yeah, there's your lighting. That's exactly what C3 looks like. So the next step from here is to import our light map. So I'm going to go to import, and then I'm going to select light maps. Now you do not want this as a single mesh. We want to import all your light maps. As you can see, I have 3. And blah blah blah, everything else looks fine. So we're going to import these. Cool. So you want to select your 3 light maps here, and we're going to go to the modifier list, and we are going to look for projection, which is what we want. Now we're going to go to reference geometry. I'm going to go to pick list, and I'm going to choose my BSP, which is stage. And then I'm going to go to cage. I'm going to turn off the cage. We don't need the cage. Alright, so now that we have projection and everything, I have all the light maps selected. I'm going to go to Objects, Properties. I'm going to uncheck Cast Shadows. I'm going to uncheck Receive Shadows. Now I'm going to go to Advanced Lighting, Exclude from Advanced Lighting Calculations. Boom. Those are for various reasons, which you can read about if you want to learn more about why we actually have to do that. Now we're going to go to Render to Texture. You can hit 0, whatever. Render to Texture. I know this is a bit different in 3ds Max 8. I believe 2010 is pretty much the exact same as this. I'm in 2012 right now. So whatever 3ds Max you're using, if you're in an older one, might be a bit different here and there. So you might have to mess around with it a bit more. So the first thing you want to do is output. Where do you want your light map saved to? It doesn't matter. Then we're going to go to make sure all selected is right here. This is enabled, and padding, we're going to put the 4. And then projection mapping. Hey, that's our modifier. Yep. Select our modifier. And then it's enabled, so we're going to go to options right here. We don't want use cage. Offset. Somewhere between, I don't know, 1 and 5. Somewhere not too big, but somewhere not too low either. So ray trace and closest right here for method and resolve trace. Now we're going to go to global supersampler setup. So if you want, you can uncheck. So you can pretty much uncheck these 2 right here, but if you want smoother light maps, you can check this, and you can also check this here too. You can mess around with these settings. I really don't know what they do. As you can see, I'm great, giving this tutorial. But I know that's what you do. So, and then looks like we pretty much have everything set up for there. Now this is the part that might get complicated. You want to go to individual, and then you're going to want to select light map 0. Now you're going to want to go to add, and you want to select a light map. As you can see, we have a size here for our light map. What you want to do is you want to go into Aether again, look at your bitmap, click edit. Alright, so you want to look at your width and height. I've already done this bitmap before, so mine are already a bit different, but they were originally 256 width and height 256. And so you just want to select something higher quality than that, but with the same dimensions. So 256, 256, I could choose 512 by 512. I could choose 1024 by 1024, which is what I eventually did going with. I mean, you can go to 048, I believe, but there's only so much light map, that Halo light map memory in Halo. And sometimes going too high. It's just going a bit extreme, especially with this. 1024 by 1024 is really smooth already. So yeah, you want to save that, and then you want to go to your next light map 1. You want to look in here, you want to look at the dimensions again. And the reason that you want to do this individually instead of just all is because sometimes the width will be, 256 and the height will be 512. And so you might have to, add a new light map. And if it's 256 by 512, then you want to do 512 by 1024. You want to keep the same dimensions. But I'm actually going to go through here and delete this because luckily for me, all my light maps came out to be the same dimension, 256, 256. So all 3 of my bitmaps are 256 by 256. So I'm just going to do all select. I'm going to go to add, I'm going to light maps, and they're all just going to be 1024 by 1024. So if they're all the same dimension, you can do that. So once you go through all of your light maps, you want to go back to all select, and then you're pretty much good by this point. Hit render, and we will see what happens. Usually by this point, if you see a weird red outline, you left the cage enabled, which you want to go back and disable the cage. Alright, so my light maps are good. And I just want to show you, if you did get that red outline, how to disable the cage. You want to come up here into projections options and just make sure this cage is unchecked. That's pretty much the only error I ever get when I forget. And if you got any other error, you might want to just go back and retry everything. So save this or whatever. Want to go back, and then you're going to want to find where your bitmaps are. Mine are right on my desktop right here. And then you want to have Aether open. You want to click edit bitmap. You want to go to, you want to check resize on import. Obviously I've already imported stuff, so I don't need that, but whatever, I'll show you anyway. And then for light map 0, I'm going to replace it with light map 0. And then you want to select your new height and width that you chose when you set up your render. Boom. And then I'm not going to do it that time. And then import these here. When you click X, you do want to save it. And then you want to close out of this. And then you can load up your level here. And boom, as you can see, we are now in game. And we do have our pink light maps. As you can see, I might have left this area a bit too dark. As you can see, it looks like crud. But, I mean, you can go ahead and mess around with your light maps. As you can see in some of my C3 screenshots, I've gotten some pretty good results with a bit more realistic lighting that I've spent a bit more time on. So spend time with your light maps and you should get your desired results. And it is definitely a good way of lighting if you have something very specific that you want, because you can go into 3ds Max and you can choose, what exactly where you want the light, where you want to hit it, and what color you want it to be too. So have fun with it, mess around, and I'll link you the Aether tutorial, which is written. And so if you want to learn a bit more about that, you can read. It has a bunch of stats, a bunch of cool things about Aether and lighting and using Aether to light stuff. So if you get a hang of the basics and you want to learn more, you can go check that out.